Okay, getting ready to start. I'm going to warm up first of all.
Day after day, no day on, day off getting in breakaway. Brett, and I'm excited for him to see what he can do. He did lose a little bit of time on that last Pyrenean stage, but the day before, he took more time than that on his nearest rivals.
But which way is the pattern going?
And that is the important thing. He was looking so good and then suddenly popped. Maybe the rest day will have done him a lot of good. He'll recuperate on time for the Alps and fight really hard and hang on again in the first day through the Alps as we see La Capelle, the Chateau de la Capelle.
This was the summer residence of the bishops of Uzès from 1211 right the way up until... And it was sold in 1792 during the French Revolution, and it remained uninhabited throughout the 19th and the 20th centuries. The building started to deteriorate because of that neglect. And then in 1965, the site was bought by a couple of locals impassioned about stone and stone buildings, and they've gradually gone about completely restoring that chateau. It's another example of many of the old chateaux in this region. They can be really cheap to buy off the local government, off the municipality, but incredibly expensive to refurbish. And the restrictions on how you can refurbish it.
Exactly, the materials you're allowed to use and the style in which you're allowed to refurbish something. So you've got to know what you're getting yourself into, but that just looked absolutely fantastic. And chapeau, as they say in France, tip of the hat to the people who've taken it over and restored it.
These are the feats of Alexis Goujart, who's on a restoration program in this breakaway by trying to restore the pride of AG2R Le Mondial, who has struggled in the shadow of Thibaut Pinot and the entire Group Armor FDJ team. They have been the star team for the French, and then the star French rider with the yellow jersey, Julien Alaphilippe. There goes Dan Martin, the white colours, just through the picture, who said that stage 15 was the toughest stage he's ever ridden in the Tour de France.
I'm just going to warm up at the moment.
Big call, might be suffering a little bit from the recency effect, but it was still a really tough stage. Caleb Ewan sitting near the yellow jersey of Julien Alaphilippe. The yellow helmets today being worn by the Movistar team as the leaders of the team's classification. A competition in which they have a commanding lead, 30 minutes and 45 seconds ahead of Trek Segafredo.
And just a few days ago, they were some 10 minutes behind. But once we've hit the big mountains, the Pyrenean stages, as we just dodge around a bidon on the road, well, they've taken command yet again. And with Landa, Valverde and Quintana, they're three men whose times count for the team's classification, really taking control of that competition yet again. And on the other side, I'm sure they'll be slightly disappointed in the performance of Nairo Quintana. So much was expected coming into the Tour, and the three-pronged attack of Movistar, but already it's become two-pronged. Just don't discount Alejandro Valverde, but also his history is against him with his performances in the big mountain stages that finish above 2,000 metres altitude. Traditionally, he has struggled and lost time on those, but I still won't count him out.
It's difficult, though, to see a 39-year-old changing that pattern.
It is, yeah, that's the thing. We only get older, and performance inevitably starts to go downhill. But he is such a class rider, the current world champion, and he did a fantastic ride the other day on that really tough stage, the one Dan Martin called the ridden, to come in with Geraint.
8th position overall and only 5 minutes behind, and he's the second oldest rider in the race. He's almost 40 years of age. He's 39. It's incredible.
Just don't count him out. Count him out at your peril.
I think that the best prospect for Movistar to get a spot on the podium beyond the team's classification, which I'm convinced they will win, Mikel Landa is still a threat. He's a long way off. He's in 7th position, 4:54 behind, but he's still a threat for the podium. And number 51. We heard the interview from Julien Alaphilippe, the race leader, but number 51, Thibaut Pinot, the winner of the stage to the the rider that everybody was talking about more than any other on the rest day.
And rightly so. And just looking at him there, sitting with his team, if you notice the cadence he was riding, the high revolution rate that he was pedaling at. So the fact he's even able to do that comfortably shows that he's still relatively fresh in this Tour de France. When you get tired, you tend to just grind a bigger gear over, just roll the legs over more slowly. The fact that he's just tickling away at it with a cadence over 100 reps per minute is a really good sign for Pinot. And yes, a lot of the French journalists are saying he is going to be the man that can win its first Tour de France since the 80s.
34 years they've been waiting. Sprint.
Doing a really long turn, maybe.
It's just the wind-up from Lars back. Rosetto is about to just sneak those points. Is he? No, he's not. He marks the respect of Lars back. I like that.
That was the other thing I was thinking of, maybe in this group, and the really long turn that Lars back was doing. Otherwise, you would have expected to see him swing off. But maybe just a mark of respect, as you said, to one of the elder statesmen of the peloton. You roll through and take this one in what you've said yourself will be your last Tour de France. So I'm happy to see that happen. Here comes the peloton and a wind-up for the sprints that are still on offer.
Colbrelli again looking for points from Bahrain Marina. Sunweb in fact also towards the front. Sagan sits and waits patiently in the green jersey.
The lead-out has been let go, one of Colbrelli's teammates from Bahrain Marina. Colbrelli's the man in second wheel, then it's Sagan, Murku, Viviani.
Is that Caleb Ewan at the back? Just waiting patiently.
No.
Esper de Boost. Viviani, perhaps a chance to test the legs in the sprint. And now the sprint starts. It's Murku in the red colours. Also in the red is Colbrelli. The blue of Viviani. Peter Sagan not wasting energy. Murku will hit the brakes as they get to the line to make sure Viviani gets by him, and he does. An early tester of the legs. So for Viviani, picking up a few points there, that will move him into second position. Colbrelli will still be in second. Viviani will move back over the top of Michael Matthews into third.
Yeah, less difference between the placings when you're sprinting 6th, 7th, 8th, as they were. So Viviani will go across in 6th, Murku in 7th, and Colbrelli in 8th. So only a small difference between the two, but that'll just about have them on a tie at the moment, I would think. Maybe 1 point between them. But battling for second, Peter Sagan, just looking back, easing off. I'll take a few points. I've got a massive lead. I'll just track you guys in and save the energy for later on this afternoon. On the other side, Caleb Ewan not getting involved at all. We haven't seen him until now do that either, nor does Groenewegen. There just seems to be really the interest between Colbrelli and Viviani to try and finish second in this green jersey competition behind Peter Sagan. No Michael Matthews. Maybe thinking about the bigger prize on offer this afternoon in the sprint, but maybe more specifically tomorrow into Gap. If he's not in the breakaway, I wonder what the prospects are of Sunweb mounting a day-long chase on a 200-kilometre stage that is also going to be a very hot day out. But he wouldn't be without a good chance of winning into Gap. We would expect, if it was to come down to a reduced bunch finish, again it would be a Matthews-Sagan duel.
Well, today the report coming from the Sunweb team is that Michael Matthews will be working for Case Bowl in the sprint finish today.
Today, okay. Well, like we saw him do in Toulouse.
Yes, exactly.
So, although we saw him go for those green jersey points the other day, really not focusing his attention on that and sharing the chances around on a finish today that probably suits Case Bowl a little bit better than Michael Matthews. I think at this point in the Tour, it's probably swinging back more to Matthews being the better of the two. More of a pedigree in a Grand Tour after 2 weeks of hard racing, after all the mountains. Case Bowl, a very large man, the Dutchman, and sure, he's had a tough time through the mountains, through the Pyrenees. We'll find out this afternoon how fresh or totally fatigued that Case Bowl is.
The aim for each rider today to go through 1 water bottle per half an hour?
Yeah, it's got to be in this heat at least 1 bottle per half an hour. And as I said earlier, it's really hard to put that amount of fluid into your body. And most of the riders will find they've still got the balance to make up when they get to the finish. So they may have had up to 10 or 12 litres of fluids today during the stage. Imagine trying to tip that in a 4.5-hour period.
And then they go back to the team bus, they get their urine assessed and they get weighed to measure how dehydrated they are and what amount of fluids they need to get back in the system overnight. It has often been referred to as an eating and a sleeping race, and in amongst the eating is also the consumption of fluids. 38 seconds. They're desperate to try and defy the peloton. Stefan Rosetto in the Cofidis colours swings off. Lucas Wizianowski now goes through to the front. There's been a fall again back in the peloton. And
the Sunweb riders
is down.
That's Boll.
Chad Hager is waiting with him.
That's Case Boll.
Jakob Fuglsang as well from the Astana rider. He's had a tough start to the tour. Case Boll picks himself up from Sunweb. Astana is the team with the panic bike, number 71. That looks like Bilbao, who's doing the mechanical job at the moment for Jakob Fuglsang. Chad Hager is waiting with Case Boll.
Well, Bilbao, he's trying to get the bike fixed up while another bike has been carried through by the Astana mechanic.
It's Magnus Cort, actually, that's trying to do that. Got that wrong. That's Omar Frale, number 73. This has taken a while to get going. Luis Sanchez is there. Lutsenko is there. This looks like it could be collarbone territory. The helmet is coming off. Luis Leon Sanchez is looking really concerned for the condition of Jakob Fuglsang.
I think that was Frele just indicating they need the race doctor, and there they are. That cabriolet, the white car, that is the race doctor. They've just asked them to stop as they were driving past.
That is a disaster.
The entire team there, the helmet off, the look, that dejected head towards the ground, that is a very bad sign.
Helmet off almost invariably means a race over. That left shoulder doesn't look good at all.
And the shake of the head.
You can see the compassion in Luis Leon Sanchez. This is not about protecting the athlete, this is about protecting a friend. Dmitry Fofanov is the sports director that is there with them, and they're sending the other riders on their way. The expression on the face of Jakob Fuglsang tells the story. Tour over.
That is race over. Really unfortunate for the Dane, who was sitting 9th overall at 5 minutes 27 down. Still very much in it for a top 6 place in this tour, but that's a sad sight. And you can see he resigned himself to that really very quickly. Helmet off, looked to the ground, a shake of the head to the teammates.
Didn't start well on stage 1 with a crash. He was on the improve as the race continued, but now one small mistake. It's another reminder of how important it is to stay up the front. And it's a cliche, stay up the front, out of trouble.
But sometimes that's exactly where it happens as well. Sometimes your numbers just up. It could have been his mistake, could have been the mistake of the rider in front of him. We don't know, we may hear later on.
Judging by the look of his skin suit, the amount of sort of dust that was on it, it would have been a pretty slippery sort of a corner because of the lack of rain in the region.
These roads are quite slippery, and I know that from racing on them in the past. I know that from riding on them today, going through the final part of the race, but every roundabout on the way into Nim, even going slow, you almost hold your breath a little bit and back it off. It's slick. It's dusty. There's a fine layer of dust. And the diesel residue from the cars and trucks. That's just one of those moments. Really unfortunate for Jakob Fuglsang,
who now has officially abandoned the race. Alexis Gujard, Jakob Fuglsang out of the Tour de France. Rosetto, Wizianowski. This is Orsolin, and at the back it is Lars Bak. All Also involved in the crash, Robbie, was Case Bowl from Sunweb. Therefore, now what happens? Sunweb, Michael Matthews, does he become the priority, or do they stick with plan A and try and bring Case Bowl, the Dutch sprinter, back to the peloton to go for the sprint?
Well, at this point in the race, it's going to be very difficult for Case Bowl to get back to the peloton. The pace is on. The break is just trying to prolong its life at the front of the race, but they're chasing really hard behind. We saw Tony Martin on, but stacked up behind him with a couple of Soudal Lotto riders as well. They are riding really fast. This is going to be a very, very difficult chase for Case Bowl. He spent quite a lot of time sitting down on the ground, then getting another bike. So he's lost probably at least a minute and a half, up to nearly 2 minutes before he gets going. Even if he does get back, he may no longer have the legs to take part in the sprint.
George Bennett with a musette full of water bottles, delivering them to the teammates. Some ice is also there. That's ice that he's now handing over of the cold water variety in a stocking. And this is reminiscent of stage 10 when he went back to collect the water bottles, but on that occasion, there was a split. Today, no split.
I would expect now that it's Michael Matthews who gets his chance to do the sprint.
It's back out to 11 seconds.
We've seen a number of teams send a solo rider up to the front, but no team commit a train just yet. It's still too far to go. So whoever can't help in the sprint train, there's a crash again.
Off to the right-hand side, Dimension Data.
Christoph was one.
This is Kreuziger. Kreuziger is well placed overall for Dimension Data. Quick bike change. He's in 14th position in the general classification. He needs to get back to the rear of the peloton to maintain his high placing.
I thought the UAE rider might have been Alexander Christoph, the last winner here in Nice. Yet to be confirmed. Let's hope it's not for him and his team. The man who is likely to do the best in the sprint finish. Under 5 kilometres to go. This is that little section I spoke about. Kick to the left through the roundabout. You get on the other side, you are lost.
Rosetto it is who's at the front. Lars back in second position. Admitted they've been together. Wrong side of the roundabout, but that was deliberate to get out of the way.
Work done for that rider. That looks like one of the Soudal Lotto riders pulling out of the road.
Looked like it might have been Jens Kirkelaar. This is the breakaway, railing it through that corner.
That is that sharp left. 4.5 kilometres to go. Peloton about to swing out of it, and the gap still just opening a tiny bit. Good news for Alexander Christoph. It wasn't him. He is still in the peloton.
I thought it was 1-2-4. Rui Costa was involved in that fall. Either way, confirmation. The last winner here, Alexander Christoph, is in with a chance.
The gap back down to 10 seconds now, but they're finding it very difficult to close these last few seconds on the break as they continue to work in unison. This is exactly what they need all the way in.
They may as well be wearing the same jersey in the manner in which they're riding. It's impossible to split the red number for the most promising back in prize today.
Anyone who chooses to try and do a little bit less, to try and take a rest, call someone in for a turn in front, will ruin the rhythm of the group. They've got absolutely no hope. But at the moment, 11 seconds with 3.5 kilometres to go, and the chase a little bit disjointed behind.
And Bonifacio has just been delivered to the front for Total Direct Energy. They still have Ursula in this breakaway, but they are setting up for the sprint finish. Yet the breakaway, they're out to 12 seconds.
It's just that holding off. The team wanting to start their sprint train too soon. They know when they get to 3 kilometres to go, it's very narrow, a right-hand bend, brings them onto the final straight road, very wide. They'll have them on their side all the way down. I doubt they'll be making a mistake on this one. Is that tight right-hander?
It could be a Jack Bauer moment. Caught within the last 100 metres. Might be a little bit sooner than that. Either way, it's Daniel Oss who's at the front for Bora Hansgrohe. Looking for Peter Sagan, who sits in 4th position. This is Lars back, who's not at the back. He's at the front with a flick of the elbow. Let's go, let's keep working. They're breathing down their neck now, though. That's no longer 11 seconds. Caleb Ewan at the end of the train for Soudal Lotto, followed by Edvald Bosenhagen.
Peter Sagan a few positions ahead of him. No sign yet of the lead-out train from the Koenig Quickstep, but look for those blue jerseys. They're starting to get formed up. Viviani is on Ricciardi. He's wearing white with the light blue bands. Long through the roundabout, a few smart cookies through the inside.
the rider in red, Janssen, bringing them forward.
Turnison is the man who will deliver Dylan Groenewegen a small sprint train. Can they take on the likes of the Curtis Quickness who are waiting? They're just getting grouped together, waiting for their moment to ride to the front.
And from the original breakaway, Ursula is trying to attack. Rosento steps out of the way. Groenewegen, he's got support. He sits on the wheel of Mike Turnison. And this is Janssen now who's on the front.
Early in the front, 2 kilometres to go. Slight headwind, remember. Narrow Quintana, he is drifting back. But he'll get back in, no problem. Already lost enough time. We don't need to worry about his GT anyway. He's actually off the back.
Well, he's had a problem getting out on Quintana and he's conceding more ground. Now that Quintana, he's out of contention to start with. He's in 13th position overall. The race is out in front.
You'll spot the line, 250 metres to go. Slight headwind, a little bit from the left-hand side. Marco Haller, he's the man on the front. Turnison, he thinks this is too early. He looks back. Where's Groenewegen? He's got a rider from Lotto Soudal behind him. On Groenewegen's wheel is Caleb Ewan in 4th wheel, but into this headwind it is very easy to get swamped.
And that's what's happening now.
Mercure goes. He's got Ricciardi in the wheel. Viviani, Sagan. They pass Groenewegen with Ewan. Groenewegen tacks on to Peter Sagan. Christoph next to him, they're battling. Caleb Ewan behind Christoph. Ewan is in 7th position. Goes now. He goes when Ricciardi starts. Ewan out in the wind. He comes in a little bit, picks up a tiny bit of slipstream. Ricciardi gives him a bit of a check. He's just too strong. Over the top. Clear victory for Caleb Ewan. What a win. This is the team that made the commitment from the first metre of the race. And this is the man who came and rode the final kilometres before the stage started.
He had to negotiate his way around Ricciardi, who lost off a little bit of speed, but not much, because Caleb was coming with momentum. Photo for 2nd and 3rd. Viviani, Groenewegen, we'd like to see the other angle. Certainly Sagan in 4th.
Caleb Ewan has won this sprint on brute strength. At first, tactically good, following Groenewegen, but they were on the front too early with Turnison and Janssen. They got swamped from behind. He has ignited the jetpack. Track him on the left-hand side, 64k an hour, and this is into a slight headwind.
I love that
67, getting down, getting aero. Groenewegen, he's coming. It's too late. It's already been won. 2nd for Viviani, 3rd for Groenewegen. That is a win by a length.
Well, that's well, fifth, mind you, so they're first, not finish, and you said he'd be finishing fifth. Well played. For Caleb Ewan, he had Roger Kluger getting there earlier. Yes, with the boost in the last lead-out, but it wasn't a classic style lead-out. Along that last 500 metres, in fact, all of the last 500 metres was on his instinct. He's a natural-born sprinter.
It is. He was just searching for the line and knows his way to go and get it. But you've got to have the legs. He had huge motivation. He hasn't switched off after that first stage win. He liked the taste, and he's back for the 2nd course.
Get through the mountains. He loves to win in Paris. Who wouldn't?
That's the next goal, of course. So, over the hundreds of years, listening.
Yeah, to be honest, I felt so down today during the day. I think the heat really got me, and I was actually suffering so much, and I was I could tell massively after on because I was really suffering. But I had extra motivation today. My daughter and my wife here, so I'm so happy I could do that. We were too far forward. I had Jasper on the front with Dylan on the wheel with 1 kilometre to go, so we weren't in an ideal situation with 1k to go, but they needed such a strong pull. Queensland came past and I lost a few more positions than I wanted to, but I looked at this finish actually at the start of the day and I played all the scenarios in my head, and one of the scenarios I played was if I was too far back, I think if you watch it right away off the wheel and really take the run at it and the guys, and yeah, it worked.
Just won 2 sets over his whole time, can you believe it?
Not really. I said before, it's a dream to be here, and yeah, I mean, it was such a big dream to win one stage, and now I've won 2, so I can't believe it.
Exploring the ancient Roman heritage of the region, the peloton will depart destination Gap. It's 200 kilometres for stage 17 of the Tour de France. Let's now take a look at what confronts the peloton for stage 17. Starts at the Pont de Gare, 200 kilometres heading through the Gap. Destination eventually after that into the Alps. So this is one of the finals is the big breakaway. Category 4 climb the midpoint of the stage, but just a gradual drag right from where it starts there. Then a category 3 climb towards the end before they descend down to the Gap for the 25th time in the history of the Tour de France.
Spend Eric Beestrom at the end there. He referred to one of the great cliches because it is a truism in cycling. In any sport, endurance sport at least, if you wait until you're hungry or you wait until you're thirsty, it is too late.
Absolutely correct. So sometimes it's a case of the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that old adage is certainly one of those. But it's become so much more scientific in recent years. And things like weighing the riders pre and post stage to gauge their level of dehydration. And there's always the rules of thumb that work. And Ben with me on this one, but one of the really easy ones for hydration is when the urine is clear, you're hydrated. And that's just the really easy way to work. Well, you can go and weigh yourself and say, oh, you're at 1.2 kilos less than you were at the start, so you need to drink 1.2 litres. You've just got to keep drinking until you need to go to the toilet every 20 minutes to half an hour. You know you're properly hydrated.
And we see so often at the start of the stage, once the breakaway is established, and it might be after only 5 kilometres, particularly on a late stage in the first week, automatically you see riders stopping by the side of the road to take a nature break. It's so important to be super hydrated at the beginning of the day.
And it's not just water, and it's been really more in the last 25, 28 years. So from in the 90s that the electrolyte sport drinks really became a thing in sport, and that is also really important. But also get the right mix. You can't completely fill up on electrolyte, and a lot of riders like to take one bidon of each, one electrolyte, one plain water, and then also what you're drinking post-stage as well to replenish the electrolytes and get your body completely back in balance and everything the muscles need to recover. As we just fly across l'église Saint-Germain in Faucon.
The actual construction of that church isn't known, but it got a lot of restoration work in the years of 1668 and 1677 throughout that period, where they added the small bell phones that you can see at the top of the church as we look at one of the most famous climbs in world cycling, the Mont Ventoux.
And we look at the most difficult piece, the moonscape. You see that line where the vegetation stops and it just turns to the white rocks. The sun reflecting off it on a hot day cooks you. It can be freezing cold up the top on a summer's day as well, and windy. And when the wind gets up, it is incredibly difficult. It's not steep towards the top, but you get into altitude, and quite often the wind is coming in from the west and blowing a headwind in you all this last part as it funnels its way around the mountain. Haven't had a lot of fun experiences coming up the Ventoux.
Amongst some of the most famous images from this climb, one of them dates back to 1987 when it was an individual time trial won by Jean-Francois Bernard, the Frenchman whose son is riding this race, Julien Bernard for Trek Segafredo. Can you imagine riding an individual time trial like Mont Ventoux?
At least it's short. The Ventoux climb is 21 kilometres long. I think back to, I think it was the last time I rode the Ventoux in the Tour de France. It was a 221 kilometre stage. The final 21 was the climb. The first 200 we covered in 4 hours.
Good joke.
No. I'm still scarred.
Absolutely. One of my favourite stages.
It was horrific.
One of the favourite stages I ever watched on Mont Ventoux was 1994, the big breakaway from Eros College. And he got to the bottom of the climb somewhere in the vicinity of 20
Yeah, over 20 minutes, yeah, over 20.
Still in the big ring.
they didn't finish at the top. They went over the other side. They descended down to the bottom. And he managed to just hold on by a couple of minutes in the end. And he tipped his hat. There was no helmet worn at that point in the Tour de France. He tipped his hat as he went across the finish line. It was a great win by Eros Poli back in 1994 over the top of the Mont Ventoux. This is Jesper Sturben from Trent Segafredo. Nat Nilberhani trying to keep the body temperature down just a little.
Fun fact about that stage win, it was his only win in the professional peloton.
He held on to win by 3 minutes and 39 seconds. He was out at his maximum lead on that stage.
And I remember being in the Gruppetto with him and with Magnus Backstedt. He was the heaviest rider in the peloton in the years he rode the Tour de France. A couple of others like Stuart O'Grady, Hank Vogels and myself going downhill in the Alps with Eros Poli and Magnus Backstedt. You had to hang into their slipstream. They just descended so fast with the weight, the momentum created by their weight. And we were off and over 100 kilometres an hour. So with Eros Poli, he probably extended his gap coming down off the Ventoux.
Yeah, and technically both those guys are really good percenters. It's not just a matter of the weight to gravity equation, both really good through the corners.
Yeah, technically very good as well. Yeah, carrying speed through the corners and brave. Got some good guys up in the break for this type of stage. We saw just coming through to the front earlier was Gorka Izagirre, but also with Magnus Kort and Omar Freile. Freile is definitely up there. Kort.
We saw Kort he was definitely up there earlier.
He was up there early. We better just do a double.
Should do a double check on Magnus Kort. I don't think he's in that break anymore. He has been dropped off the back, and Magnus Kort is no longer part of those 33 riders off the front.
And he was active very early, but no, indeed, he has not made it, just two.
They have Omar Freile and Gorka Izagirre. Freile won a stage last year. Gorka Izagirre has been a stage winner at Grand Tours in the past.
But Freile is a man who has the strength to go on the attack on his own, in a small group, get over that final climb, and he's got a fairly handy turn of speed at the finish as well. That stage when he got to Mende last year was incredibly strong. Came back on Jasper Sturven, who in the end we were cheering for to make it. It was such a great move that he made. He just literally hit a wall. The wall that is the climb up to Mende.
It is indeed. But for either of those riders from Astana to be able to win the stage, Omar Freile or Gorka Izagirre, they need to reduce the size of this group. So we are in for some action in the final 60 kilometres of this stage. I think it will start to kick off. You can see the red number in the breakaway today. That's Alexis Goujard from AG2R Le Mondial. He was in the breakaway yesterday. Daniel Oss with the flowing locks from the Bora Harmgrower team. They also have Lucas Postelberger in the break. Number 22, sitting at the rear of the breakaway group, that is Casper Asgreen, who's been doing a lot of the pacemaking throughout this race, mainly in support of Julian Alaphilippe, on occasion in support of their sprinter, Alia Viviani. As he did yesterday, it was Casper Asgreen's final couple of turns of pace up that last climb yesterday that brought an end to yesterday's breakaway group of 5. Yesterday for the Sunweb team, they made the decision very early on, Robbie, that they were not going to sprint as Michael Matthews being their protected rider. The sprint was going to be to set up the stage for Kees Bol. He ended up being involved in the crash that also caught out Jakob Fuglsang, so Matthews got to do his own sprint. But this morning, he's a non-starter. The Sunweb team, they made the decision. He's in his first season in the pro ranks. Let's not rush things with him. We don't want him to exceed his limits into the mountains. So they've had him not start the stage today. Which makes it intriguing for me that they made him the number one protected guy yesterday.
Well, maybe that was the thing. It's his last day. Let's let him have a go at it, but he was involved in that crash with Chad Hager.
So they switched pretty quickly then to Michael Matthews, which shows that it's a really nimble team in terms of its thinking. But Michael Matthews wasn't overly delighted about being told at the start of the stage to work for Kees Bol. The white jersey of Egan Bernal sitting in 5th position in the overall classification. Be looking forward to the high mountains that are still to come over the next 3 days.
Yeah. All these climbers and GC riders, you see them lined up by team Ineos, Movistar, Shrek Segafredo and Richie Port, and the Koenig Quickstep further back there with Julien Alaphilippe.
Just in his shoes, number 65, Mikael Landa. He is the wild card in the pack. He sits in 7th position, almost 5 minutes behind the yellow jersey, but many are saying he can still win.
I don't think he'll reach the podium. There you go.
Nairo Quintana yesterday, he was caught behind a fall. He didn't crash, he put his foot down. He lost more than a minute again yesterday.
Yeah, we know Mikael Landa, he's an enigma. Expect the unexpected. He goes on long-range attacks. But I don't think he'll make the podium in this tour. He may threaten the top 5. I think it's just too much time to make up. But surely you've got to pay for that the next day.
He's a rider that Dave Brailsford, the team manager across at Ineos, has spoken about as a threat. He previously rode for Team Sky. They know what they're in for with Mikael Landa. He's the one guy that they think he can launch a long-range attack and sustain it. Others, they back themselves to be able to slowly whittle their advantage down. So look at the peloton being led by the Koenig Quickstep, the advantage at 8 minutes and 29 seconds. 113 kilometres to go at the front of the peloton. Let's now turn our attention to the Tour Media Medal. This is a technical course. This is a breakaway group of 33 riders. No real threats here to the yellow jersey of Julien Alaphilippe. The nearest is Zandre Muruse, who's more than 28 minutes behind.
Really impressed about Caleb's win yesterday was not just that laying off the wheel, the slingshot effect out of the slipstream and hitting the front, but that he went from a long way out, a good 250 metres into a slight headwind, and just held that. He didn't look like he was fading towards the line.
But it's a long way from Paris from here.
Yeah, and he's going to need a lot of help from his teammates, guys like Jens Kirkeleder, who's just coming through to the front now. Maxime Montfort. Everybody in the team, basically Jasper de Boer sticking with him, also Roger Kluge. And Caleb said after the Pyrenees, he put a photo on his Instagram and said, with his teammates, I've got to thank these guys because it's them who got me through. There were some really rough moments today and I thought I was almost out.
Yeah, the teamwork for a sprinter, the support for a sprinter, it's not as simple as just the lead-out train. In fact, often it's all the other stuff that we don't see that happens at the back of the peloton. That was Edvald Bosenhagen rolling through to the front of the breakaway group. At the back of the breakaway, in last position, that is Volker Mollema. Just in front of him is his teammate Jesper Sturven. And they also have, in this breakaway group, the Latvian national champion Thomas Scoins. Simon Clark, the pink colours rolling through. And the white colours, the former world champion, that is Rui Costa. Followed then by the Colombian champion of a few years ago, that is Sergio Henao. Latvian national champion next in line is Thomas Scoins. Then it's the European champion, Matteo Trentin, followed by his teammates. That is Christian Jensen, Dane, who speaks with a very thick Irish accent. He spent all of his teenage years up to around about 15 or 16 in Ireland. In fact, he spent most of his childhood in Ireland before moving back to Copenhagen in his mid to late teens. They hit the base of the first climb of the station. Category 4 climb, it's 2.3 kilometres in length with an average grade of 6.2%. Is it too early to see any action from this breakaway group?
Yeah, I think it's still too early. 97 kilometres to go. I mean, there's long-range moves, but 97. I find it hard to imagine that anybody in this group is thinking, yeah, just inside 100k to go, that's when I'll go solo.
Particularly in this heat.
Yeah.
Casper Asgreen, number 22 at the back of the group. But Thomas de Gent might just test everybody's legs a little. Can we fit the group? There's Bruce, and then there's Thomas.
Yeah, and that was the next thing to get to. If there's anybody in this group that might just do it, there's that man.
And Rui Costa is staying nearby, so too is something like they're well aware of the reputation of Thomas de Gent. Do not take your eyes off Thomas de Gent. Back in the peloton, they're still being led by the Koenig Quickstep. Today, Julien Alaphilippe has himself ranked as equal 15th in terms of French riders and their time in the yellow jersey. This is his 12th day in yellow and 2 days from the start of the tour before surrendering it to Julia Ciccone. But if he takes it today, he'll move one step further forward in those rankings and rankings for the yellow jersey. Really want. It's been 34 years since they've had it. Again, drive by Bishop. Good to see the Kiwi and picking up Tom Scully in the breakaway. Yep. He's organising another ride with his good friend Tim Wallace, who currently wears the King of the Mountains jersey. That's in Spain this year. It's a 750-kilometre loop that they're doing. Lots of gravel roads. It's Thomas who designs the course. He designs the kit they wear, and he makes all the decisions on the bike. Tim does what he's told.
Good partnership. It's kind of like ours.
Who's who?
I just do what I'm told.
Have you ever done what you're told? I'm going to ring your mum. What was Robbie like when he was 12? Did he do what he was told? I know your brother well enough to give me inside information. I reckon Roscoe will tell me a totally different story.
Yeah, we're a bit different. I don't do what I'm told. But I don't do all the planning. You do all the planning. Well, on certain things.
You do the executing of the restaurant. Really. You are the master of picking the restaurant and the wine list. I just hand it over to Robbie. He's got it covered. And we go with the local cuisine and the beverages on the region.
And I'm also happy with our roles in the driving, where it's a complicated evacuation from the finish area.
It's all Robbie, trust me. If it's complicated, it's Robbie. If it's simple, it's me who does the driving.
I don't know what it is, but the car seems a bit narrower when I drive.
That's fun. Goes around corners quicker when you drive it. This is Dylan Toynes in the red colours for Bahrain Merida. One stage win already. That was on stage 6. That was to the top on the Ponce de Baladi. He's got his mojo this year, Dylan Toynes. He can definitely win this stage today. He'll need to get away from the likes of Jasper Sturven and perhaps even number 22, Casper Asgren, but he could pick up another victory.
I would like to thank Paul Carey on Twitter for just doing some quick mathematics for us. We were just talking about the difference in aerodynamics, and over an 8.5-second period of a sprint, or which is around the last 200 metres, 1 kilometre an hour equals 27.7 centimetres a second. To have 8.5 seconds, 1k an hour equals 2.36 metres, or a bike length, which is what Caleb won by yesterday. So thank you for confirming my thoughts with actual mathematics.
Hashtag we love Paul. Fantastic. Nailed it. It makes all the
Check out the big brain on Paul.
Just a little bit too much conviction. It's the Royale with cheese. Almost at the top of the climb for the breakaway group, and I'm suspecting that Thomas again will take the points at the top. He currently sits in 3rd position in the King of the Mountain classification. He's 27 points off the lead of his teammate, which is Tim Wellens. And it's only 1 point at the top of this climb. But as we saw through the intermediate sprint, Thomas again, he sees a prize, and it's like a red rag to a bull.
Yeah, and he'll just set the pace, and he'll set enough pace. You look what's happening in the back of the group. Little splits, guys chasing across gaps. Thomas just making sure that he's setting enough of a pace that everyone goes, okay.
And the other thing that they're doing is they want to stick with him. Daniel Oss is aware of this. So too is Alexis Goujar. Coming around the outside is Pierre-Luc Perichon. They would probably be thinking, we need to stay with Thomas to get just in case. But he's backing off.
Yeah, he had a look and he backed off. But what he sometimes does is he has a look as if, okay, you're there, I'll just ease up, and he even sits up higher and he starts pushing the pedals harder.
Whilst he's got the body language of up high.
Yeah, sneaky.
Clever.
But I still think it's way too far to do a move like that. And so he had these right off.
But Pierre-Luc Perichon was cautious.
Oh, yeah. Even Daniel Oss didn't want points. He thought, I'm just going to have a look and make sure that if they'd gone over the top with 4 and a gap had opened up, Oss thought, well, let's not get caught out just in case. Rather make an effort that turns out to be unnecessary than not make an effort, which at the end of the day, you think to yourself, gee, I wish I'd just gone.
Yeah, you'd rather be cautious than wrong than too relaxed than wrong. Peloton still being led by Dominic Quickstep out to 10 minutes and 35 seconds.
And it is absolutely pouring down on the head of the race. It looks to be a very localised storm, but it's one that was on the forecast, the possibility of local storms throughout the area. As the heat builds up in the Alps, the cold air meets the hot air. Suddenly, you've got a storm front on your hands. And we made a bit of picture break up there just from the amount of rain falling from the sky.
That is an incredible turnaround in terms terms of the weather conditions, and this was picture perfect.
Head look in this direction, completely clear. Looking out of our commentary booth, there's a few heavy clouds on the horizon, but here in Gap at the moment is also fine.
Would you welcome the rain, given the heat that we're
Absolutely, it would feel wonderful.
One of the few occasions where you would actually welcome the rain. Wonder how long it will last, because it's still really warm here at the finish line. It's still up in the mid to high 30s. Here is the breakaway group. There is Nico Roach in the red colours now rolling through to the front, followed by the Olympic Games gold medalist from Rio. There's Greg Van Avermaet. Then Becky behind him with the green helmet on. The yellow helmet, that is Nelson Oliviera from Movistar. They lead the team classification. Behind him, he is the Kiwi, Tom Scully. The double and the peloton there at 12 minutes and 19 seconds. They haven't hit the rain yet. It has to start and stop somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's quite possible that it will move across and the peloton will just hit wet roads and think to themselves, what happened here? Absolutely torrential front group at the moment. They, I'm sure, will be actually enjoying it. Here's the first drops, it looks like, to the peloton as well, and the big drops of rain. Really heavy.
On that gorge that we went through a little while ago, they had a horrible flood that went through there in 1992, where sadly 37 people passed away. So a flood can hit this region really quickly.
You see how gingerly they were through that last corner as well. When it hasn't rained for a long time, then it suddenly pours down. Things can get a little bit slippery as well. But rain this heavy is likely just to wash the roads completely clean. Any residue that's built up, that'll be gone in that section.
And what about the contrast to that in terms of racing in the rain and the spray with the water coming off the wheels and the chance of picking up a bucket?
So if I look onto the now
Increased by much?
and drop back,
Only very slightly. I think also in real rural areas where there's a lot of dirt on the road, that's mud, out in the fields that have been fertilised with manure and that sort of thing, like the races we see in Belgium in the spring.
Nico Mercu, I think that smile at the front is the irony of the change in the weather conditions. From boiling hot, and the rain is hitting the ground and evaporating almost straight away. Thibaut Pinot is all smile. He likes the cool conditions.
There's riders with blocks of ice down their back, and now they're about to get caught on. Here it comes down on the peloton. Julian Alaphilippe, I think he's saying, oh well, at least we're going to cool off.
That's William Bonnet, who he's speaking to from Groupama FDJ.
Look at
Viviani's enjoying it.
Yeah, quite often in a race, when it starts to rain, you see the looks on the faces.
They go long.
They get very long, and now so many guys just started to smile. Think, well, this is going to be really nice, kind of like having a swim.
We haven't seen a whole lot of the lavender fields throughout today's stage, which, as we head through the region of Provence, I was expecting to see more of it.
I think we're just a little bit too far north. Down around Aix-en-Provence, you see a lot more of those lavender fields. You see another one of those beautiful shots that we have throughout the tour of these magnificent birds soaring high. Not too spooked by our television helicopters.
Not spooked by the rain either, because they haven't been hit by it. We've got additional votes to be awarded today. Alex Dowson, Mr. Consistent, he's hunting down George Bennett. I'm going to award him 2 votes. 1 vote for the pause, and 1 vote for the comment about, gee, Geraint Thomas finding a way to crash at the end of the tour and potentially blocking in for second behind Thibaut Pinot. Alex Dowson, 2 votes.
Long hesitation, the big arm. Sounded like he was at the doctor.
That incidentally puts him into clear 3rd place in the race for the Tour Media Medal. He's on 7 points and currently being led by George Bennett, who's on 12. And Thibaut Pinot and Geraint Thomas, who also got a mention from Alex Dowson, they're on 9 votes.
As the peloton is led by the Koenig Quickstep through Le Gorge de Meuge.
What did you think of his forecast that Thibaut Pinot will win ahead of Geraint Thomas and Julian Alaphilippe?
I think the first 2, reasonable enough. Yeah, why not? But if Alaphilippe cracks, I think it's going to be much bigger than that, and I think he may drop to the bottom end of the top 5 or 6.
Yeah.
If he goes. He showed signs of it the other day in the Pyrenees. But this tour has just given us so many surprises. That should Alaphilippe hang on, I also won't be shocked.
The tennis ball theory, if you drop the tennis ball, it bounces back and that bounce gets less and less. How much more spring does he get in his tennis ball after the rest day? We don't know. We won't know until tomorrow.
It's not an exact science. Now, he had to be dropped up there by helicopter. Surely you wouldn't climb that.
Rock climb. He's got the safety rope. He must have. You can't drop somebody off on that through the chopper. It would be worth watching if they did.
I was just looking at all the loose-looking rocks up towards the top.
The French are so famous for their rock climbing.
Well, he's a lot braver than I am.
He's a hell of a lot braver than I am, I can assure you. Peloton still being guided by De Koenig Quickstep, the team of Julian Alaphilippe. It is magnificent. We talk a lot about all the man-made structures, but this is Mother Nature at her very best. I like that he's got the polka dot jersey on. See, he's climbed up. See the safety harness.
Oh my goodness. You know that feeling you get in the bottom of your feet when you're watching someone else stand at a really great height in a precarious place? Maybe you don't know, but that's what I've got now.
I've just taken a look at the King of the Mountains classifications. Tim Wellens leading on 40 points. Thibaut Pinot in second on 50 points. And that guy moves into third
he should
on
just
45.
move up. Absolutely.
That's categorised on its own, that climb. This is Chris Juul Jensen for Mitchelton Scott at the front in the black and yellow. His former teammate Jens Kerkelaer now rolls through to the front. You can see the expression in their faces starting to change and looking a lot more serious. The tension on the face there of Tom Scully. Simon Clark now comes through in the pink. Mickey Shah in the orange colours has been doing more work at the front than his teammate Greg Van Avermaet.
To the 14 minutes, under 50 kilometres to go, there's no real reason to be swapping off in earnest anymore. And I've seen little signs. I spotted a couple of riders just tighten a shoe here and there. Riders start to spend a little bit more time at the back, a lot more talk on the radio.
This gorge that we now journey down through, it's classified as a natural zone of ecological fauna and flora interest, so it is protected by the government decree. Peloton in single file, they're really just trying to get through to the finish line.
It's protected, but you're still allowed to climb all over it, by the looks of things.
And race your bike through the middle of it. Steve Lampard on the front. They have had an enormous tour. Their big focus really was the first week to try and win a stage with Julian Alaphilippe, the sprint finishes with Alia Viviani, and then see what they could do overall with Enric Mas. This is the breakaway group. This is Niels Pollard. He's all smiles. He's enjoying himself.
Let everyone know what's happened right from the start if they're just tuning in. I was looking at my race book, small downhill, and I was just about to say this is the time when the opportunities are starting to come up, places on the route to attack. Small uphills, little sections where it's possible to start the action. And just as we were going to go to that package, we noticed the first little split occurring in that front group, the breakaway of 33 riders. It's starting.
It wasn't so much as an attack. It was some of the tactical moves of people trying to stay at the back and stay out of the wind. Chris Juul Jensen now at the front.
It's that manoeuvring, putting himself in a position just to do a little bit less for a little while, really save the legs, and then start to think about what's coming up. They've done that downhill. Now there's a series of small uphills, and here's an acceleration into a corner.
It's Bolivar who's the first to go. This is a genuine attack from Volker Bolivar. Robbie, once again, you have read the tea leaves correctly. It's Alexis Goujard who is responding.
Well, Mollema with Sturban in the group. This is exactly what he had to do. Go long range, force the others to come with him. If the group forms with him, then he can afford to start sitting back and doing less or nothing at all. So I'm going to ride for Sturban. I want him to come back to us because he can beat you all in the sprint. But he's a man who has won a stage a couple of years ago in the Tour de France, stage 15, the Puy-en-Velay, with a late attack out of a breakaway group.
And he attacks just before the bottom of the final climb, and they never saw him again because he is so strong.
He's technically good. You saw where he attacked, going into a corner, catch them by surprise, open a little gap up. The reaction came really quickly though from Goujard, and it looks like he's closing the gap, but a little fracture at the front of this group.
The importance of attacking bit more.
Well, you've already exited. There's someone in your wheel. It's a pretty obvious move. Going in, catch them off guard. And attacked out by Scully.
And Alexi Gujard, the rider that I spoke about earlier, has perhaps pays the price for the fatigue of being the breakaway yesterday. The man in the yellow shoes is showing no such sign. And in fact, it's Gujard who is the next to go.
It's Gujard just not wanting to miss out. So maybe thinking to himself, it's tactically so difficult to pick. I'm going to follow the first couple and immediately I'm going to go as hard as I can and see if I can get away. Then you don't have to react to attacks.
You are the attack.
You are the attack.
Lots of the riders in the red colours from somewhere, but down the back of the peloton. Their big hope today, they only have one hope. It's Nicholas Roach who is in the break. Cheers to the two lead-out men for Elliot Viviani doing the job today for the yellow jersey. That is Max Lucchesi. In the red, the Danish champion, Mikael Merkel.
A very straightforward defence for De Koning. Quick step. Everyone pretty relaxed in the peloton. This is Emmanuel Bookman. Some people have been saying, oh, under the radar. Nobody's talking about him. We're talking about him every single day. We have been since the start, and said that he came out of the Dauphiné with a third place in the back pocket, and he was always going to be a contender for a top 5. He said, I'd like to finish top 10. He's underestimated himself.
In addition to that, whether we're talking about him or not, the riders in the peloton are. So to the man in the red, sorry, not the red and the black, the yellow and the black, and that is Stephen Kruijswijk, the best young rider in the race, Egan Bernal. Importantly though, he sits in 5th place overall, Niels Pollitt.
We went through that list and said who needs to do what and when, who needs to go long range, and this was one of the men we said go long range. A very good time trials, fairly handy uphill without being a climber, and not slow at the finish. So get into a group, get into a 5 or 6 man break, and he can definitely win from that.
This is the strategy that you said he needed to adopt when we went through it a little earlier on.
It's Jens Kirkeleder who's come out after him from Soudal Lotto, so that's a man with a fast finish. Not ideal for Pollitt.
No move yet from Thomas Begins. Perhaps he waits for a few attacks to soften the legs, and then he goes.
Well, a very technical section. Niels Pollitt pushing everybody to the limit if they want to close this gap.
Looked a little dusty through that corner also.
Everybody on the chase, and Kirkeleder, he is getting across the gap. It's Jules Jensen in the background with Gujard, Tom Scully. So the men who were on the attack just previously, that narrow winding road has just kept them at the front. Everybody strung out.
And 2 of the 4 riders from Cofidis are at the very back of the group.
Not a good sign.
That is Pierre-Luc Perrichon, who is at the rear. This group is really strung out. This is some serious pressure at the front. Kirkeleder has made it across, and he's created a little bit of a gap to Tom Scully in the pink colours.
And that next group still has a gap over the rest, all looking over the shoulder. Rob Wassenhagen is in that group, the man in the bright green helmet. Looking back looks like Jasper Sturven on the front of the rest of the group.
We see this vehicle with the Australian flags and the boxing kangaroo every stage of the Tour de France. Tim Wellens at the back, number 168. He will have enjoyed the rain showers. He despises the heats. He has to get into the breakaway tomorrow if he's any chance to win that polka dot jersey.
Well, not much is going to change back here either, but up the front, the change is happening. The attacks have started to rain down from the front group. Niels Pollitt and Jens Kirkeleder keen to see what their gap is over the rest, or if they've already shut them down.
This is from the breakaway group, number 123. That is Sven Erik Beested. And when he won the under-23 World Road Race title, Caleb Ewan was second. And he spoke about watching Caleb to take that next step up, and he's really enjoyed seeing Caleb have that success. And Simon Clark now is
So back in our front group, Simon Clark has a little go. Trenton was the man in his wheel. Everything come back together after that attack by Niels Pollitt.
There's now 3 of the 4 riders from Cofidis in the back 6 riders of this group. This is Burhani at the rear. Just in front of him is Omar Frale from Astana.
Some of the riders in this group, they'll just gamble on having the tactic right, think, I won't get involved, I won't attack or chase yet, I'll sit further back, rely on everybody being really keen not to miss gets it. Just wait a little bit longer.
Heart rate is very high.
Playing your cards close to your chest, holding your nerve, and just hoping you've picked the right tactic.
Turn to the general classification from that breakaway group. Sandro Marise, starting the stage in 19th position with disadvantage, is now moving himself up to 13th place in the general classification. Pretty good day.
And for the day out here in the break, may well cost him a whole heap of time tomorrow in the mountains and see him fall even further back than he was already. Well, the Alps are looming for the entire peloton of this Tour de France. But at the front, the thoughts are not on the Alps, it's on the stage win. This is Goujard. Behind him, Ben King, Jules Jensen. He sits up, so the gap opens.
And Goujard wears the red number as the most combative from yesterday's stage, who's in the day-long breakaway. Theoretically, he should be the most tired guy in this breakaway group, but he's showing so much vigor to press on and try and win.
Maybe that's the thinking behind his attacks. I'm tired from yesterday's fatigue. I'll just throw out big attacks and see if I can get away. Maybe he's feeling I'm probably not sharp enough at the end to make a big attack, to try and slide away. But it's not, they're not sneaky attacks. Big horsepower.
He's got Ben King with him, who's got plenty of his own horsepower. Now sprinting across is Tom Scoins, the Latvian national champion, followed by Stag Langen from UAE. Van Avermaet starting to pay attention.
Oh, and gritting the teeth too, the Belgian in the gold helmet. And the gap opening up. Look ahead, there are some 10 or 11 riders. And Jules Jensen has not managed to go with the riders going across, but Mateo Trentin is one of them, the teammate of Jules Jensen.
And he makes contact at the back, more trying to go across. Scully is amongst them in the pink colours.
Daniel Oss, he's the man just making contact. So Trentin getting organised straight away. Right to the front, says, come on, this is it, let's split it. They've left behind around 20 riders. Asgreen is the man trying to come across.
He has the legs to go across, the 22-year-old Casper Asgreen.
Simon Clark just jumping out of the remnants of that breakaway, the big group behind. You just see him coming over the crest in the pink jersey. There he is. Nico Roach, he follows his example.
Now this group, they sit and they wait, they try to work out who will do the chasing. And it's Thomas de Gent who's on the front, because also in this group is Jens Kerkelaer. So the two riders from Soudal Lotto from the breakaway have missed the split.
Both missed it, so that's not a good sign for this group, having Thomas de Gent trying to chase you down. But that is now a big gap. Simon Clark down in the aero tuck in the background. Then it's Nico Roach. And now it's Nelson Oliveira on the front of the rest of the group. Asgreen is on the verge of making contact, but they are really going. Good cooperation in this front group.
This is the back of the breakaway. Number 136, that's Volker Mollema, who started it all.
Big tailwind down the valley as well. Simon Clark looking like he's starting to get stranded. Another big turn from Trentin.
The key notable, Clark is sitting up. He's about to be caught by the chasers. The key notable for Matteo Trentin, he knows that Jasper Stuyven is not in that front group. And he's probably the only guy from this breakaway that could beat Matteo Trentin in a sprint finish.
Yeah, they've got Scoins there, who is actually just waving other riders through. So Scoins looks like he's suffering. And having the firepower of Jasper Stuyven behind, you may think Scoins would think to himself, I'm really feeling the pinch. I've got a fast guy from the team behind. I'm going to sit on, I'm not working.
And Asgreen has made contact. There he is in blue from the Koenig Quick-Step. The workhorse gets an opportunity.
He is quite incredible. The amount of work that he's done on the front of the peloton in this Tour de France. And had a heavy crash on stage 3. He's bounced back from all of that to get in the break first thing today and get across that gap. Incredible from the young Dane.
He'd be a popular winner if he was to collect the stage victory. Chris Jansen off to the left. He follows the wheel of Niels Pollitt. He's trying to discourage the chase from this group because his teammate Matteo Trentin is amongst the leaders. This is Nico Roach now at the back in the red colours of Sunweb. He sits just behind Sergio Henao. And for the Cofidis team, they've managed to get Pierre-Luc Perichon into this group, number 156. Van Avermaet, who you spoke about in orange, doesn't miss many. And he hasn't missed this one.
He went and he was with the attack after Volker Mollema really kicked things off. And then you can't miss the next one. That's how you've got to ride when you're in a break with any sort of numbers. You've got to back each other up. When one's made the effort and been in one, you've got to make sure you make the next one. Or you're on the back foot and you're chasing. And that gap opening up now, 26 seconds between, vehicles passing by, official motorbikes, cameras. Not a good sign for the chasing group.
11 riders in this group. Number 22 is Casper Asgreen. Just in front of him, Tom Scoins. Just in front of him is Gorka Izagirre. This is Niels Pollitt trying to go across. Pierre-Luc Perrichon is in the group for Profondeville. Matteo Trentin for Nicholton Scott. The CCC, they have Greg Van Avermaet. The American Ben King is there for Dimension Data. Daniel Oss is in the group for Bora Hansgrohe. Stake Langen is there for UAE. Alexis Gujard for AG Tour Le Mondial. Tom Scully, the Kiwi, for EF Education First. Pollitt on his own, trying to go across.
Well, all but two of the riders in there are doing what we said they needed to do to try and win. Go long range from somewhere just within 40 kilometres down to 25 kilometres to go. Try and get in a suitable sort of group. But the man going off the front is one of the big dangers for this group. Matteo Trentin with his sprint, so is Van Avermaet. And Gujard has blown.
Finally paying the price for yesterday.
Said it earlier when we said he's so active, maybe because he's already feeling the pinch and thinking, I won't be good enough to go in the final part of the stage. I'll see if I can get away and get in a group and they let me slide. It's caught up with him.
The one thing the team criticises Alexis Gujard for is being too aggressive. It's a nice thing to be criticised for, but today's paid the price for being a little too active.
He's out-attacked himself.
Yes, he has.
Good effort nonetheless, being in the break yesterday, and really yesterday was not the day to go in a break when you saw the body language of Sudal Lotta early on. But look what it's done to the group here. There was the acceleration by Trentin. He was off the front, nobody followed, and now they're starting to look at each other. That teamwork element of the break has gone out of it.
He's trying to drive the break, but he's disrupting the break, Matteo Trentin. And a lot of riders in this group, they would fear Matteo Trentin, rightly so, in the sprint finish. He has beaten Peter Sagan in the sprint finish to win a stage in the past.
And he's really being up front with his riding and pushing the pace and talking a lot, where Van Avermaet is trying the opposite tactic. Just, nobody sees me, I'm just floating along. Not even really here.
A little bit difficult not to see Greg Van Avermaet.
Don't mind me, I'll just do what the rest of you are doing. And
but he's shown his experience here. He's recognised that the pace has dropped off. He's losing cohesion. He rolls through, and you saw the head turn back. He's talking to the others. Come on, let's roll.
Oss comes through, but back into a single file line. Oss, Van Avermaet, Scully, Asgreen, Matteo Trentin, Ben King, Langen. Then it was Scoins at the back. Gorka Izagirre just taking a drink. Now, he is the sleeper in the group. I expect a clever attack from Izagirre.
His brother's been a stage winner in the Tour. That was in the rains to Morzine. That was in 2016. He'd like to join him as a stage winner in the Tour de France. Neutral service still providing the water, and there'll also be a Mavic neutral service motorbike, but not car, directly behind him. This is the peloton going through the motions. The Yates twins at the back. Number 108 Simon. He's been a dual stage winner in this year's race. 101 Adam Yates. He's trying to work out what has gone wrong. His season was meant to be Tour de France, then onto the Volta a España. It's been announced that he won't be riding for Spain. No Volta a España for Adam Yates this year.
Good decision too.
Third from yesterday, Elia Viviani sitting just behind the white jersey. Phil Gertrude still at the front, the Danish national champion. The yellow jersey coming out of the lead. Should come out of today reasonably happy. It's been a stress-free day, as much as there can be one for the race leader.
We'll be very happy with how it's gone today. Completely stress-free, and even in the beginning, he was just sitting in the wheels, cruising along, even though it was 50 kilometres an hour. That is cruising. You get to this end of the Tour de France, you're tired, you're fatigued. You just get used to riding at that speed as well. You just turn it over and float along in the slipstream. Asgreen pushing the pace at the front.
He's done a lot of work throughout this year's Tour, a lot of work on the front, but today he's been saving energy at the back.
Remember back in the Tour of Flanders in April, he did so much work throughout the race
For others?
and then he finished on the podium. second.
Yeah, and it was a solo second place finish. Bettiol was off the front on his own, and then Asgren just slipped away from the next group, and they didn't catch him. He is strong.
And he did a lot of work in the first 10 days of this Tour de France, and he was top 10 in the time trial.
Eighth in the time trial. We declared him as the unsung hero the following day.
7 seconds, and they're starting to think about the climb that's going to come. It starts with around 13 kilometres to go.
You wrote it this morning. What sort of opportunities does it present for this group?
14 kilometres to go to the start of the climb. It's 5.5 kilometres long, 5.2. That tops out at around 8.5 kilometres to go. Out of this group, there'll be a couple not counting on their climbing skills.
Okay, look at the screen now.
Maybe looking for another attacking opportunity before they get to the
And
climb,
the
get a head
end of the
start.
sort of climb.
Although that's a danger in itself.
So,
get a head start for the
on the
climb.
ultimate climb,
It's risk reward.
About
You might not get a lot of the lead, but put yourself right in the red zone. As soon as they come back in, you go through the group and out the back.
Simon Clark tried that a few days ago, and then paid the price. 4 kilometres to the bottom of the climb.
I haven't seen Gorka Izagirre come through for a turn. Maybe we've just been off on a scenic shot like this wonderful shot of the Montagne de Suze.
This one also stands at a little bit over 2,000 metres. Another one of the popular spots for rock climbing. You can see that limestone face of it. It's no wonder that it's one of the more popular destinations in this region for rock climbing. With the terrain that they have down here as we head towards the Alps, it's no surprise that it's very popular. Peloton still being led by Yves Lampard, the former Belgium road and time trial champion. Out towards the 20-minute mark by the end of the stage, they think that advantage for the breakaway.
Yep, we'll just see what maybe a team like Movistar, some of the others might do on the climb. Just ride a little bit quicker, possibly thinking just being in position for the descent. It's not a technical, difficult descent, but nobody wants to get caught out.
It's not the traditional descent that we see down into Gap, which was a hair-raising one.
No, that was off the Col de Mons, the Category 2 climb. And we've seen a few come undone down there and splits in the peloton. It's nothing like that. It's a lot more straightforward, so nothing for the peloton to worry about. This group, they're getting ever closer to the foot of the climb, and the gap is growing almost out to 40 seconds.
Here he is, Izagirre from Astana, rolling through. He is adapting or approaching this with the Rui Costa strategy. Just enough to keep everybody happy. He's sure to attack on the final climb.
I think so. Out of that group, he's a man who really needs to attack this group with the likes of Trentin and Van Avermaet in it. And this is what remains off the front of the breakaway group. Originally 33 riders, now 11 off the front.
It's down to 10 now, in fact, because Alexis Gujard is now being dropped. It would be incredible if he was able to return to this group, but now the chasers, they're out to 39 seconds.
And all the sizing that they do
39 seconds,
is
a lot of
all
ground to make up when
actually
you've
in
been in
warm-up
this break all
size.
day long.
It's a lot of ground to make up. There is a 5-kilometre climb. Maybe Thomas de Kent will think, I'll have a go at it on the climb. There's got to be others in this group that think they need to get away before it. Maybe a Danielos, that's what he's thinking about. Tom Sculp's be offloaded, but at least try something.
We've had Kiwis win stages in the Tour de France in the team time trial, but never an individual stage. This could be a historic moment for New Zealand cycling.
This is Ben King.
Tom Scully has himself in second position behind King. The reaction is coming from Trentin.
And he's just going to try and cover everything. Just keep it together.
The grimace on the face of Greg Van Avermaet as he follows the wheel of Casper Asgreen. Trentin is showing some cards early.
He won't be intent on getting into a group, start swapping off to form another split. He just prefer everything just to stay together. That will be just fine for Matteo Trentin.
37 seconds now. The gap reduces ever so slightly to the chasers. I'd like to see exactly what's happening back with the chasing group.
Swing across the road of Ben King. Well, he has a look and then gets up on the pedals and goes. It's Van Avermaet who tracks in. Asgreen, he also sees the danger.
Trentin the same. He responds, number 107.
Not only
Asgreen, counter-attack, over the top. The youngest rider in the leading group, and he puts them all under pressure.
Well, they are very close now to the foot of the climb. This is a big effort. climb is just a little way down the road. That was a soigneur for Dylan Turns stepping out the road, but sorry, he's not there yet. He's missed the split.
And he's creating a sprint. Tom Scully down the pink colours. The bow of the head is never a good sign. Tom Scully, you can cross him off. Ben King as well, he's been distanced. But Asgroup is the one who is eliminating the chances.
Mangan also gone out of this group. Perishon, he will not get across. Trenton says this is great. Let's keep it rolling. The men not to miss out. Asgroup, Van Avermaet, he's a gear then. And Tom Scoyts.
Daniel Oss. We're asked about the aerodynamics of Daniel Oss. He loves his hair. He sits at the back of the group. It's part of his branding, Daniel Oss. It makes it easy for us to spot him. He's right at the rear of the group.
Trenton, he's eager for this to keep moving along. We got rid of a lot of guys. And always talking, always pushing. Come on, guys, just keep it going. Roll it over, roll it over. Almost at the bottom of the climb. And Izagirre, he has got to be the man who will attack. He can't wait till just near the top.
After the showers that we had, the dripping that you see in that musette bag from Michael Hepburn, that's the stockings full of ice to take them through to the team leaders. As one of his teammates, Matteo Trentin, he's not waiting for the sprints, he's showing his strength. The cards are on the table.
Well, followed all the moves, and he's obviously thought to himself, it's just not moving quick enough. Maybe they're too tired, off I go.
Reaction now coming from Pierre-Luc Perrichon.
As Trenton is onto the climb with the Golden Sentinel, 5.2 kilometres, 5.4% average.
And he is a strong time trial as Matteo Trentin.
Big range on
Real pause back in this group. Who's going to do the work? They cannot.
Wants to do a big turn for the rest as they get to the foot of the climb. Could be a master stroke by Trentin. Perrichon, he was dropped when Trentin was one of the ones making an acceleration. He surely went right across the Italian.
No, he's looking over his shoulder. He's looking for the chasers. The race is out. Perrichon, second on the road. Matteo Trentin is all by himself.
An adjustment of the jury or just a silent prayer. He's off the front solo, and that is a big gap to cross.
JC group being led by Tom Scorns. It's then Greg Van Avermaet in orange. This is Pierre-Luc Perrichon of Profondeville. Looking to end an 11-year drought for this team. Making any progress? Not yet. This is Trentin. And he's the rider that I would have backed in the sprint finish from that group.
Trentin, fastest man in the group, the one the others don't want to go to the finish with, want to offload him, attack him, use him up. He'll have none of it. He'll leave him behind first.
Impressive. He was fourth at the World Championships in 2017, Matteo Trentin. He's won multiple stages here at the Tour, 4 at the Bronco de Spagna and 1 at the Giro d'Italia. He's already opened up a 13-second advantage, make it 15 seconds on Pierre-Luc Perrichon.
Well, he won stages here at the Tour, successive years, 2013 and 2014. In 13, he beat Albacini in a photo finish, and then the next year, he won into Nancy from an elite front group after a difficult hilly stage, coming in ahead of Peter Sagan.
And at that point, he was riding the Vegan Quick-Step team. Omega Pharma Quick-Step, it was then known, now known as the Koenig Quick-Step. Got the jersey fully open, 37 degrees still at the finish line gap, 4.2 kilometres to the top of the climb. This is the pursuer, this is Perrichon.
And this is good news for Trentin that Perrichon is still in between. A man who was dropped when the race went a bit faster.
And he's at 17 seconds, 26 seconds to the next chasing group. And Perrichon keeps looking over the shoulder. This could be it. Trentin has laid the winning move.
Maybe a lot won't consider this going out on a limb. I'm calling it. Trentin will not be caught. He has looked so fresh. He's been all over every move. He's been a 10. He's been strong. He's covered attacks. Now he's made his own. He's been so eager in the moves as well to do the work, to get everybody moving. It's like he's on a big adrenaline rush. Surely they can't catch him. The gap has opened up even more.
He's not showing any signs of slowing down Matteo Trentin. He was interviewed before the start of the stage. No pressure on the team. You've already got 3 stage victories. Yeah, but I haven't yet.
Prophetic word by the Italian, the man who is the European road race champion. And from his team, Mitchell And Scott, just as you said, one of the men with 2 stage wins in this race, Simon Yates. He sits at the back of the peloton, having a relaxing day, and I'm sure following the progress updates of his teammate off the front. This is a Pic de Bure.
It's the 3rd highest peak in this region at 2,709 metres above sea level.
Cooling off for Matteo Trentin. He's feeling the heat, but it's not from the chase because they are going further behind. Perichon at 23. The rest of the pursuers at 33 seconds. That's the group with Izagirre and Van Avermaet.
And how discouraging for that chasing group now at 33 seconds when they've seen the strength of Matteo Trentin. It's Os on the front, followed by Asgreen, then Izagirre, Scoins, and at the back, Van Avermaet. They don't look like a group who will close down Matteo Trentin.
These are not tactical decisions. That is the best they had. This is the best they've got. The strongest man is going to win this bike race. Plain and simple.
Matteo Trentin off the fronts. He's got it all in front of him with just on 11.5 kilometres remaining. It's 23 seconds now for Perichon. Pierre-Luc Perichon is putting up a good fight.
Yep, dangling 13 seconds in front of the group that he caught right before the foot of the climb. He went up and over as they took a pause. And he's still holding them off. He's 15 seconds ahead of that group with Van Avermaet.
He looked cooked at that point, but he's really bounced back well.
At the moment, he's hanging on to this time gap. He's not losing any more at the moment. That time gap actually having him come in by 1 second on Matteo Trentin, but he still can't see him. 22 seconds is a big gap.
This is his 4th appearance at the Tour de France for Pierre-Luc Perichon. He's never won a stage in the Tour, nor a World Tour level race, but he has won a good race, if you like the cheese. He has been a winner of Paris-Camembert.
Where you win your weight in?
Camembert. He won that back in 2012. This is Os, followed by Van Avermaet. They're trying to work. You're right in your assessment. It's not so much that it's tactical.
Seems to
This is all that's left of the tank. It is stage 17. They've been racing throughout the Tour now for more than 2,500 kilometres.
And the gap is growing. And Matteo Trentin, his virtual finish line is the top of this climb at 8.5 kilometres to go. It's pretty much all downhill. Into gap, just a couple of little pinches a few hundred metres long. But he knows if he can have 20 seconds at the top of this climb, they will not see him.
This is the next group on the road. These are the remnants. This includes Edvald Bosenhagen. Also in this group is Ben King. Simon Clark is there in the pink colours. Dylan Toynes is at the rear of the group. Just in front of him is Volker Mollema. Third last from that group is Nico Roche.
This is Langen at the front of this group, trying to drive them back on. Simon Clark is in 4th last of the group. Justin Roche behind him.
Is that now?
Yep.
Former Columbia national champion Sergio Henao. And the gap to the peloton out to 18.5 minutes.
Just over 2 kilometres from the top.
This group looks like it'll be caught by the group that is chasing them down, and then they'll get the news, oh, but hang on, Matteo Trentin, he's still another 40 seconds up the road.
Another big dive down into gap.
Gorka Izagirre. Now the attack comes from Kasper Asgreen. And nobody with the legs to go with him. The young Dane has proven to be a powerhouse in 2019. One of the revelations of last year's Volta a España. Confirmation this season.
But if he's able to accelerate like that right away from this group and distance them, he's waited too long. He should have done that before if he really did have it in the legs. He's onto that little flatter section now as well.
41 seconds, the gap at the moment. Kasper Asgreen made the move. He might be able to take 5 or so seconds away really quickly with the acceleration, but then once it gets into the stabilisation, Trentin's not backing off. He's not slowing down. He's showing no signs of weakness.
And he's 500 metres from the top of this climb. The gradient a lot easier. He will power across the top of the Col de Sentinelle above gap, and it'll be a lightning fast descent. It's a pedalling descent, so it's not as steep as, say, a Pyrenean or an Alpine descent. It's certainly quick, open and flowing.
Asgreen pretty quickly across the Perichon. He will make contact with the Frenchman by the time they reach the top.
It's been a good acceleration by Asgreen, and he may live to regret that he didn't try this earlier.
It's not over yet, Robbie.
Okay, but it is.
Not quite.
They will not catch Trentin. Surely not. Too much experience, too much fight. You could see this morning in his interview how much he wanted it. Popped himself into the break, and the way he's ridden it all day long. The only thing surely that could stop him is a mistake.
Yeah, I'm 99% with you. But Casper Asgreen is a guy who has surprised more than once this season.
Asgreen up and over the top of Pierre-Luc Perichon. Tries to tack himself onto the wheel, and he does it at the moment. No. The gap opening up. The Dane pushes on. The Frenchman is being dropped.
The moment was momentary because number 22 is on the charge. It's the young Dane, Casper Asgreen, still holding out a glimmer of hope of being able to get across to Matteo Trentin.
Well, the kilometres are going to tick away very quickly now. If it was this gap and a flat or undulating run into the finish, you'd say still a chance. He's not home yet. He's got a lot of descending to do. Right the way to the final kilometre, there's only 2 sections of about 400 metres. We'll be up onto the pedals, big chainring as well. And the little kick up from 2 kilometres to go, you really dive into a dip, carry a lot of speed onto it. So Trentin just has to hold it together, keep his concentration is the most important thing now on this descent. Get your markers from the motorbike and the car in front of you, estimate the corners, take just enough risk, but he's got a gap that he can be careful enough.
I'm glad you declared this is a non-technical descent.
It opens up even more further down. It's not hairpins. You can take most of these corners with just a brush of the brakes.
Just a brush of the brakes, so he says. At the top of the climb, Trentin's lead on Asgreen was 26 seconds. At the point where Casper Asgreen attacked, the gap was 41 seconds.
And it might be 10 at the finish, but Trentin will have time to sit up and celebrate.
This is the chase, Casper Asgreen. Trentin is a very good descender.
He's a very good descender. As much as I'd like to keep the excitement in it for commentary purposes, but I'm not going to because Trentin is just too good to give this away.
This is Pierre-Luc Perichon fighting for a top 3 finish on the stage. He's trying to hold off the group with Greg Van Avermaet. And now it's gone out to 29 seconds. So Trentin actually is riding away from Casper Asgreen on the descent.
He's a good descender, just has to hold it together. Shades of last year, Adam Yates off the front on the way to Bagnères de Luchon with Julien Alaphilippe on the chase. He fell in the ball. We don't wish it on him, but these are the things you need to keep in mind, and that's why you need to stay 100% focused, even with a comfortable lead.
And Yates, Mitchelton Scott, Trentin, Mitchelton Scott, Asgreen, quick step, Alaphilippe, quick step. Shades indeed.
That's why it all came together. Flatter part of the descent, so the further you go down, the less gradient there is. Back onto the power for Trentin. Line up that car in front, see what sort of curve there is in front of you. Ease off slightly, back on it again.
He looks so powerful, Matteo Trentin, the European road champion. He's won sprint finishes in this tour before, one from the breakaway group, another one getting the better of Peter Sagan. Now Casper Asgreen is heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, both Matteo Trentin's Tour de France wins have been in group sprints. The one in Nancy in 2014, quite a large group sprint. The other one in 2013, a smaller breakaway group like this one with about 15 or 16 guys left and just got over the top of Albacini. Well, he's making sure of this one. Just the strongest man in the group on the day. In the end, when you look at it, he's ridden away and simply outpowered them. He was all over everything, didn't miss a beat, not a single mistake, and he's the strongest.
That 1% hope that I was holding out for Casper Asgreen has just evaporated underneath the sun into gap as it goes to 31 seconds.
Yeah, the time gap's going out. This is that little uphill section through 5 kilometres to go. It goes for a few hundred metres, and it definitely stings the end of a 200-kilometre extremely hot day. Stage 17 of the Tour de France. It is hurting like the proverbial, but Trentin, he can smell the stage wind.
It hurts a little less when you're in front and the time gap is going in your favour. But this is another brave performance by Casper Asgreen.
He holds 8 seconds over Pierre-Luc Perichon. It's a further 8 seconds back to the group of Van Avermaet, which has swelled in number with riders joining them from the chasing group behind. With the breakaway, it absolutely fell to pieces. Matteo Trentin has been responsible for a lot of the damage. This is Balka Mollema with Gorka Izagirre.
Trying to go across. In March of last year, Asgreen was still riding with team Virtue Cycling, a continental team. Then in the third division of the sport, he got picked up by the Koenig Quick-Step, and now the 24-year-old Dane finds himself in with a chance to finish second on a stage of the Tour de France. He was second this year at the Tour of Flanders, a stage winner at the Tour of California.
Well, whoever is responsible for that talent ID, well done.
Izagirre, Mollema, then Perichon, Toyds and Van Avermaet contemplating what might have been. They've missed their opportunity.
Yep, the rest, they are way out of contention for this one. This is that downhill stretch down towards 2 kilometres to go for Matteo Trentin. So all downhill till 2k to go. Another kicker up for about 400 metres. But he has a 36-second advantage now. So he's riding away all the time. He'll just be steady state and start to think of what the victory salute's going to be.
Well, he hasn't had much chance in his previous stage victories to really focus on it, as it's been the adrenaline one with a photo finish where he actually had to wait maybe up to 2 minutes for confirmation when he got the better of Michael Albacete.
Yeah, that was super close on that occasion. This time, there'll be no one else on the photo unless he starts to celebrate from a kilometre out and Asgreen comes into sight. Asgreen still only has 10 seconds on the group. They call it the group Van Avermaet. That's the one we saw Balka Mollema and Izagirre attacking out of.
Matteo Trentin on target to make it stage win number 4 for Mitchelton Scott.
This last little uphill section, then it's downhill to, oh, he's got the downhill until the 2 kilometre, then a proper kick up. Still to get to that section.
This is Casper Asgreen now drifting out to 38 seconds behind. 8th in the individual time trial. He's the Danish time trial champion, and he has spent countless kilometres on the fronts of the peloton for his team leaders, Alaphilippe and Viviani, but they're closing in on him from behind.
Yeah, they're coming at him, and this man, he is going away from them. This is the peloton coming onto the foot of the climb.
Tony Martin is who leads them onto the front.
There's a bit of a disagreement here, Luke Rowe and Tony Martin. That will be looked at by the race commissaires, that sort of behaviour. And this is the sort of thing that could get Tony Martin thrown off the Tour de France. It's too late to say needs to be careful. It might be too late for him.
I don't know. I'd like to know exactly what happened there and hear from Luke Rowe and Tony Martin.
Well, they're going to have to explain themselves, most certainly Tony Martin, to the race jury if they've seen that footage.
Do you think that was deliberate as opposed to a look across the shoulder and then he
was
accidentally...
Absolutely deliberate, but we just need to know what was the catalyst to that. But the real action is right here.
He's on the way to another stage victory for Mitchelton Scott. About to see the kite with 1 kilometre to go. Matteo Trentin has simply been the strongest. Pat on the back from the yellow jersey. Gratitude for Dries Devenants. 20 minutes and 10 seconds the gap. Still leads. It is followed by Thomas, Kruiswijk, Pinot, Bernal, Bookman, Lander, Valverde, Uran, and then Port rounds out the top 10. More than 80% of this year's Tour de France has been completed. There's just 592 kilometres remaining before the race reaches its finish line in Paris. Yet the big decisions, they're still to be made, and providing the backdrop will build the Alpine climbs. Could it be a French victory? They've got the yellow jersey resting on the shoulders of Julian Alaphilippe, who will get to the top of the mountain first today. The drama of the day yesterday, though, involved Luke Rowe and Tony Martin. On the road approaching the final climb, the battle was on for positions. And it got a little heated.
Pretty harsh decision. I think maybe a yellow card would have been merited, but I think a red card for both riders, in fact, feels a bit severe to me.
Luke, you must be devastated. Yeah, I think you know, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and to come here with this team and alongside a bunch of good mates, and just feel like I've let them down. Of course, let myself down, and yeah, it was you know, both trying to do a job. Maybe we both overstepped the mark slightly, but it feels harsh to be thrown off the race. I think both of us, neither of us deserve that. And you know, there's just a lot of people supporting you, watching you, and it's pretty hard.
Luke Rowe from Team Ineos and Tony Martin of Jumbo Visma, both disqualified from the race. They're on their way home. In terms of altitude gain, this is the biggest throughout this year's tour. They will scale more than 5,200 metres in altitude gain across 208 kilometres from Embrun through to Valois. And some of the most famous climbs in the sport, the Col de Var, then it's on to the Izoard, then to the giant, the Col de Galibier, at more than 2,600 metres, before a rapid descent through to the finish. Hello, welcome to stage 18 of the Tour de France. Matthew Keenan with you, joined once again by Robbie McEwen. Robbie, the sun is shining at the finish line, but there are a few riders missing. We just saw the package from yesterday involving Luke Rowe and Tony Martin. It will provide a talking point for the next few hours, and then we'll get to the high mountains and we'll switch our focus very much onto the racing itself. But it did take a dramatic turn after yesterday's stage.
It did take a dramatic turn, but as far as I'm concerned, it didn't take an unexpected turn. As soon as I saw the footage, and the small part that we saw live during the race, I said they're going to have some questions to answer at the finish, and they certainly did. Then more footage emerged, and even though nobody crashed, the actions that were taken by those two riders, with the look at the precedent set last year of Gianni Moscon being thrown off the Tour for trying to punch someone else, a swing and a miss. They threw him off the race. With that precedent already set, looking at yesterday's events, for me, it seemed pretty close to 100% they were going to be thrown off the race.
And you made that call at the time, and I was sceptical. I didn't think it would be that severe. I did see some more footage, courtesy of the Dutch television, NOS, which shows more prior to what happened when they made that left-hand turn. And in terms of, number one, the risk that they put other riders at, the risk that they put spectators at, and then also the image of the sport, it does look harsh externally. It's not the consequences of those actions, it's the intent of those actions and what could have been caused. I actually think the UCI have made the right decision disqualifying them, even though the people that are in the thick of it, they probably feel like it is a little bit harsh. But I also believe that the UCI should have gone on the front foot and actually made a strong communication about what their decision was, why they made it, and the purpose of doing that big call of disqualifying them from the race.
Yeah, and I think you're right with that call. The UCI just need to come forward. They don't need to say much. All that needed to be said was, we will not tolerate physical aggression within the race, and we have excluded the two riders. Full stop.
Yeah, there was no need for them to hold a press conference and do a whole Q&A session. They just needed to make a strong statement that shows that they are backing the decision of the jury on the race. And a lot of questions have been asked as to who's the jury. Well, the jury's made up of an international group of representatives. There's Italians on there, there's French on there as well, there's a Canadian on that jury. It's not as if it's a biased decision in favour of the French race leader.
No, it's not in bias to the French race leader, but in effect, the race jury, the UCI commissaires, they are the judge, the jury, and the executioner, and the appeals panel.
This time they executed. So there's.
So I wasn't shocked to see them out of the race, but as we see Le Tour de Brune in Embrun, and we'll get to some of the fantastic scenery. Please enjoy watching that if you're not so into the technicalities behind the race and what's gone on after yesterday.
Just to clarify the jury, the UCI president, or the jury president I should say, is from Italy. Then the members, Canada is represented, France, Spain and Belgium. So there's no bias based on nationalities.
No, it's simply following the rules that are in place. They had the option just to issue a fine and a warning and points deduction and other various things that are meaningless to the riders, really. But they went the whole hog, said out of the race. The race moves on. The teams were planning an appeal, heard nothing of that, but they will not go back. As I said, judge, jury, executioner and appeals panel. They're not going to reverse their own decision. So the riders are lining up for this stage, what is the Queen stage of this Tour de France.
And their fine was 1,000 Swiss francs, Robbie, which is significant,
yeah,
as opposed to 1,001 Swiss francs.
Yeah, so if the fine they got was under 1,000 Swiss francs, it gives you no right of appeal. A fine over 1,000 Swiss francs, you may appeal.
Correct.
Read this fine print. Just got to that bit.
Julian Alaphilippe in the yellow jersey. This is a big day for Julian Alaphilippe.
They've all been big days for Julian Alaphilippe, whether they're flat or hilly. He's made something big. Just the fact that he's still in the jersey day after day, it's huge.
Roll out from Embrun, which in 2008, this beautiful little town in the Alps hosted the start of 2 stages of the Tour de France. One of them finished in Italy at Prato Novoso. That was won in pouring rain from a breakaway group by Simon Gerrans. The following day, it was a stage that went through to Alpe d'Huez, or a few days later, it was a stage that went through to Alpe d'Huez, and it was Carlos Sastre who won the stage with a bold breakaway in the blazing sun. And we're expecting a bit of both today. It's warm at the moment, but the forecast is for potential showers and maybe even thunderstorms later in the afternoon.
I was just thinking while you were telling that story about 2008, I was there, I rode it, and I don't remember being in Embrun. Must have been at the hard end of the tour. But weather forecast-wise, so at Valois, where the race finishes after they crest the Galibier and dive down into Valois, chance of thunderstorms from 3 o'clock this afternoon. The race is not due to finish until 5 p.m. So it's a 50-50 whether the storms will hit here, but there will be thunderstorms in the Alps this afternoon. So the riders have just got to be lucky that it doesn't hit on the course. Yesterday, I'm sure they really would have enjoyed that heavy downpour at one stage. It was 38 degrees, and then it started pouring rain. It would have been like having a swim. They would have felt that was really nice.
Mickey Shah, who was in the breakaway, he did an interview immediately after the stage, and he said, that's the first time I've rejoiced rain when I'm in a bike race.
Well, we saw, as the raindrops started to come down, we saw riders look at each other and smile and laugh and think, how good is this?
It's great, wasn't it?
Never seen that before.
What a gorgeous town, the way it's perched up on this rock. It sits at around about 1,000 metres or so above sea level, this little town. And I really like the look of that football pitch and the little athletics track that went around the outside of it. What a picturesque place that would be for a game of football.
First, they stay up on top for just a couple of kilometres before they really drop down. So gradually down, they're about to drop onto the real descent.
Hand signal there from Lutsenko, I'd suggest indicating to Perrichon, let's keep rolling and wait and see who comes across to us. Yeah. They won't survive as just 2 riders out in front, but there's sure to be a counter-attack coming from that peloton. Lars Bak, the first rider to attack, has rejoined the rear end of the peloton. Survival for Lars.
There's always that choice you have to make in the position of a non-climber. Do I attack and hope they just let me go and get in a group and get a head start? Or just sit